Okay, this is like my second attempt, and I promised myself that I wouldn't do videos that are like longer than like 5 6 minutes because it's a matter about um not getting like hyper focused and get buried in the research, because the reality is that it's actually a pretty simple story. Like some of the stuff that the family, and the lawyers did is I don't even know, I can't even think of a word for it at the moment. I can't, I mean, vicious doesn't really cover it. So that's kind of the promise I have to myself here, is that I'm not going to get lost in the weeds. I'm not going to do 35-minute episodes. I'm just going to say it like it is, and then I'm going to go on. So my goal right now is to give you guys like 6 minutes worth of information, and then go to the gym, because, we got to live a balanced life. So here's what I want to say. First of all, if you'll notice, the filter is not so much on the videos right now, but they do keep adding those stupid little emojis when she's not flashing anyone, and I think it's fucking petty. Two, this episode's for Britney Spears if she by somehow comes across this video. Here's what I want her to know if she ever finds this video. When I was doing research, and I'm a fiction writer, I'm not an investigative journalist, I'm just sort of cosplaying an investigative journalist right now. So, and as part of that, I'm doing cross research, right? Like I was trying to understand the origin of Kevin's story about her doing crystal meth, which doesn't make any sense. His story changes in the custody evaluation. I think it's different in the book, and I think probably what he told Daphne Brack was yet another version of events. And typically speaking, when somebody can't keep a story straight, it's because they're lying. That's why you have Jamie, Lynn, and Brian giving you 3 different versions on the record of how the conservatorship came about, because they're all lying. So what I want Brittany to know, based on my research, here's what I found. In Daphne's ITV interview, she says very clearly, Britney Spears is not crazy. She says some of the stuff that Britney told us, we witnessed for ourselves. And I think that's really important that be said. This was like 3 years ago. I think how she got Britney on the phone was by having Jaden call Britney, and he hands the phone over to Daphne, which is not nice. The other part of this story that has been forgotten is that Daphne was originally going to do a documentary about Kevin and Jamie writing a book about fatherhood. And then she got to know Kevin, and she wasn't impressed with what she saw. She said that, Britney was paying all of the bills. Neither Kevin nor Victoria had jobs. And even though they didn't have jobs, they were basically doing the bare minimum of parenting, which was getting the kids to and from school and their activities. They weren't even cooking the meals. They were just doing, she uses the word takeaways. We say takeout here. So they didn't even pick up after the dogs in the yard. And, meanwhile, he's encouraging the kids not to have a relationship with Britney. So maybe it's not 2023. Maybe I think it is, though. She wasn't impressed with that. And she goes and she writes an article for The Sun, and she says, Kevin told us that Britney did crystal meth. Kevin denies that he says that. I think at this point he's worried that Britney will actually sue him. So she's like, he absolutely did say that. And he said a lot worse. A lot of what Kevin says is hearsay. We're not going to print it, including the allegation, I guess, that Kate Hudson was giving Britney drugs. Like, that's what she alludes to. She doesn't say Kate's name. Again, I cannot find any like truth to the crystal meth story. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, who does crystal meth? So all of that being said, Kevin is Kevin. She wasn't impressed with him. And the feud about what he did and didn't say definitely created a riff. But the other interesting thing she says in this Sun article is she outs Jamie. She says essentially that whole story about his colon rupturing in like 2019 was actually cover for him going to rehab. So he gets out of rehab. He's having dinner with Britney and the kids. I'm not clear whose house it is, but I suspect it's Britney's. Preston unfortunately tells him that he's not playing basketball anymore, which was Jamie's sport. As a side note, I don't think he's very tall. I mean, he's like 5'7", 5'8". He just looks tall because everybody else is shorter. So, I mean, maybe he was a point guard. I don't know. I guess he was really liked in high school before like he became the biggest piece of shit of all time. Anyway, she outs him. She outs Jamie, right? And then the last thing that's really interesting that she says in this ITV interview is that it's not a documentary about like Kevin. It's a documentary about the Spears family. So she's gone from starting to do a documentary about Jamie and Kevin writing a book about fatherhood, which never happens, right? To paying Kevin six figures, I don't know, $100,000 maybe, for an interview, a 10-minute interview that gets sold to 60 Minutes Australia, I think. She spent, though, between Kevin and the Spears family, Brian, Lynn, Jamie, spent like the better part of a year with these people, right? So she goes from point A, which is the fatherhood thing, to now it's the Spears documentary, except there is no Spears family documentary. It's years later, and there's no Spears documentary. Now, why do you think that is? Could it be because she spent so much time with Jamie, Lynn, and Brian that she was like, this shit is fucking messed up. These people are messed up, and some of what they're saying doesn't really check out. It's all like alleged. It's unchallenged. I think that she recognized that the court documentation that Kevin gave her was unchallenged because she called a lot of what he said hearsay. And the worst of the allegations she said he made, she wouldn't print it. So I do think, if Britney hears this, I mean, I do want you to know that probably one of the last people you'd think on earth who would have anything good to say about you did in fact say you're not crazy. And she did put it in print that you were the person who got the kids away from Mr. Psycho, Jamie Spears. And the last thing I just want it to be said, because I think this is kind of a big deal. Like, whatever happened, in my opinion, with those people was bad enough that she took footage from a year's worth almost of filming, like 9-10 months, and just flushed it down the toilet. So imagine how much that cost her and her husband to do. I mean, I think when we get out of the upside down, people everywhere are going to wake up and be like, what the fuck? Why weren't there criminal charges? I do think that day is coming. Mostly because I think that this world that we're in is so out of balance that it has to right itself. And part of that's going to be justice for Britney.